The tennis universe is in full-blown chaos right now, and it's all because Alexandra Eala refuses to play the WTA's favorite little game, blaming the coach every time something goes wrong. While analysts with blue checkmarks and podcast microphones are practically begging her to sign a flashy superstar coach, Eala is doing something far more radical. She's staying still. She's staying loyal. And somehow, she's the calmest person in the entire room. This story isn't just about forehands and rankings. It's about a 20-year-old who seems 10 steps ahead of a media machine that survives on panic. But before we peel back the layers of this coaching drama, I need your honest take. In today's WTA, is loyalty a competitive weapon? Or is Alex taking a dangerous risk by standing firm with Joan Bosch? Drop your thoughts below, because what's happening right now inside modern women's tennis is almost too absurd to believe. And you have to admit, it's almost fascinating to watch. We've reached an era where top 20 players rotate coaches like they're switching phone cases. Lose in the second round of a Grand Slam? Fire the coach. Have an off day on serve? Fire the coach. Slight dip in confidence? Fire the coach. It's become a carousel of high-profile names with million-dollar contracts and perfectly curated Instagram feeds. And the media? They treat it like a redemption arc every single time. They celebrate players bouncing between Patrick Mouratoglou, Brad Gilbert, or Sasha Bajin as if hiring a celebrity from the tennis sidelines is some kind of spiritual awakening. As if a famous face in the player's box can magically stabilize nerves at 4 inches a deciding set. It's not evolution. It's insecurity dressed up as ambition. A desperate hunt for a miracle solution that simply doesn't exist. Yet somehow, the narrative keeps repeating as if greatness only comes attached to a headline coach. And then there is Alex Eala, the name that keeps echoing louder every month. The face leading a rapidly growing Eala army that shows up online and in stadiums with the kind of loyalty most veterans spend decades trying to build. Her ranking is climbing, her sponsorship portfolio is expanding, and her presence feels bigger than her years. On paper, this is exactly the moment when the tennis establishment expects a transformation. This is when a young star is supposed to upgrade. When the narrative demands a famous supercoach with Grand Slam credentials and a resume heavy enough to impress television analysts. But here's where the system glitches. Alex didn't make that call. She didn't chase a celebrity name. She didn't announce a dramatic split followed by a polished press release thanking someone for the journey. And that single act of restraint has confused an entire industry. Because in today's professional tennis ecosystem, momentum is often mistaken for instability. Growth is equated with replacement. If you're rising, you're supposed to rebrand your box. That's the unwritten rule. The insiders cannot compute why she refuses to play along. They see a 20-year-old with global appeal and assume she must need a high-profile architect to take her to the next level. They talk as if success is rented, not built. As if credibility can be leased for a 7-figure coaching contract. Rumors swirl about elite celebrity coaches offering massive deals. Headlines speculate about rejected offers. Anonymous sources claim she's turning down opportunities that other players would sprint toward. And maybe she is. But what fascinates people isn't the money. It's the defiance. Because this sport runs on urgency. On fear of being left behind. On the constant anxiety that someone else is innovating faster. Loyalty disrupts that rhythm. Stability threatens the drama cycle. And Alex, calmly standing beside Joan Bosch, has become a walking contradiction to the chaos. To understand why this matters, you have to rewind the timeline. Long before endorsement shoots. Long before primetime matches. Long before analysts debated her ceiling. Go back to a 13-year-old girl leaving the Philippines, stepping into the intimidating world of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. Imagine the psychological weight of that moment. New country, new culture. Grueling training blocks designed to test not just talent, but resilience. 5-hour practice days. Brutal physical conditioning. Academic responsibilities, layered on top of elite athletic expectations. That academy is not a vacation destination. It is a proving ground. And Joan Bosch was there from the beginning. Not when the cameras arrived. Not when the ranking points started stacking. From the foundation stage. When homesickness hits hardest. When doubt creeps in after a lopsided practice set. When improvement feels invisible and exhaustion feels permanent. He wasn't hired to polish a finished product. He helped shape raw material. He didn't inherit a rising star. He invested in a child with potential. And stayed through every uncomfortable phase of development. In professional tennis, that history matters more than people admit. Because tennis is brutally isolating, there are no teammates to absorb momentum shifts. No timeouts to recalibrate your breathing. No substitutions when your legs feel like cement in a third set. When you glance toward your player's box at 2-5 down in a decider, you aren't searching for brand recognition. You're searching for reassurance. You're searching for someone who knows your breaking point because they've watched you push past it before. That kind of psychological bond isn't downloadable. It cannot be replicated in a 6-week trial period. It is built slowly, through shared struggle, through repetition, through trust forged under pressure. And that is the piece critics underestimate. They see branding strategy. She sees continuity. They see a missed opportunity for hype. She sees protection of rhythm. Stability, in this case, isn't sentimental. It's strategic. Because every rising player eventually hits turbulence. Form dips. Confidence wavers. Media narratives flip overnight. When that moment arrives, the last thing you want is a fragile coaching relationship built on short-term expectations. What Alex is choosing isn't comfort. It's insulation. It's long-term architecture over short-term applause. And that's precisely why the tennis establishment struggles to process her decision. She is succeeding without feeding the spectacle. She is growing without staging drama. She is building without advertising the blueprint. And in a sport addicted to motion, stillness feels rebellious. Now, let's address the tactical critics who insist Joan Bosch doesn't have the pedigree to carry her into championship territory. The argument sounds polished on television. It sounds logical in a tweet. But it collapses the moment you actually watch her play. The entire identity of Alex Eala's game is rooted in the Spanish clay court philosophy she absorbed at the Rafa Nadal Academy. Heavy, suffocating topspin. Relentless point construction. Patience that borders on stubbornness. The refusal to donate free points. That blueprint is not accidental. It is deliberate. It is coached. And it is working. We have watched her drag top players into extended rallies they clearly did not want to endure. We have seen her stretch elite opponents physically and mentally, forcing them to hit one more ball than they planned for. That is system tennis. That is architectural coaching. And Bosch is the architect. So, why would she dismantle a structure that is clearly rising just to satisfy a narrative? Because that's what this really is, a narrative craving disruption. Celebrity coaches come with spotlight gravity. They arrive with highlight reels and endorsement leverage. But they also arrive with ego, with branding priorities, with the subtle desire to stamp their fingerprint on a player's identity. They tweak the grip. They adjust the toss. They modify the footwork pattern. And when the player wins, the transformation story writes itself. When the player dips, they quietly exit and move on to the next project. It's a cycle disguised as ambition. And Alex seems fully aware of it. She doesn't need reinvention. She needs refinement. Continuity is not stagnation. It is mastery repeated daily. The pressure she carries would break most 20-year-olds. An entire nation watching. Expectations accelerating faster than her ranking. Sponsors analyzing every result. Media speculating after every loss. The easiest move in the world would be to redirect that pressure. Fire the coach. Announce a bold new era. Create a distraction big enough to reset the conversation. That's what many players do. It buys time. It shifts blame. It satisfies the appetite for drama. But Alex didn't choose that escape route. She stayed steady. That decision speaks louder than any press conference. Because it signals emotional maturity in a sport where emotional impulsiveness often masquerades as ambition. Stability in her camp is not just about tactics. It is about mental preservation. Imagine trying to build new communication chemistry with a stranger while navigating the most high-stakes matches of your life. Learning new cues, new emotional rhythms, new expectations, all while the world demands immediate results. That transition alone can destabilize confidence. Bosch already understands her tempo, her breaking point, her silent tells during pressure moments. That familiarity reduces noise. And in tennis, noise is the enemy. When your lungs burn in a deciding set, and your forearm tightens under scoreboard tension, clarity matters more than celebrity. The myth of the supercoach is seductive because it simplifies greatness. It suggests that success can be imported, that experience can be outsourced. But history shows something different. The most enduring champions often build on long-term partnerships anchored in trust, foundations that don't shake after a single bad month. The WTA's obsession with novelty has created a revolving door culture where players rarely allow systems to mature. Technical adjustments stack on top of one another until rhythm disappears. Promising careers stall under the weight of constant reinvention. Alex is sidestepping that trap entirely. She is choosing patience in an environment addicted to immediacy. And let's talk about the rumored million-dollar offers again. Even if they're real, what would accepting them prove? That she values optics over identity? That she believes a high-profile name will swing the racket for her at 30-40 inches a third set? Coaches don't hit the passing shots. They don't endure the lactic acid. They don't carry the emotional burden between points. What they provide is structure, clarity, and trust. And those are already present in her camp. Joan Bosch is not a temporary consultant. He is embedded in her development story. You do not perform surgery on a healthy foundation simply because outsiders suggest a shinier exterior. The media struggles with this because stability doesn't generate headlines. Loyalty doesn't trend. Conflict does. Breakups do. Dramatic reinventions do. But Alex appears uninterested in feeding that machine. She wants longevity, not 15 months of viral hype. She is building for 15 years. That requires discipline not just on court, but in decision-making. The boldest thing she has done recently is not hitting a fearless forehand. It is resisting pressure disguised as advice. It is understanding that her competitive advantage may not just be her lefty spin or her court coverage. It may be her refusal to panic. Her refusal to let outside noise infiltrate her inner circle. When we look back at this era, the carousel of coaching changes may be remembered as a period of wasted momentum for many talented players. But Alex could very well be remembered as the outlier. The one who didn't blink. The one who trusted the architect who built her game. The one who proved that loyalty and long-term vision are not outdated values, they are strategic weapons. She is not afraid of change. She simply understands timing. And right now, nothing about her trajectory suggests chaos is required. While insiders speculate and headlines attempt to manufacture tension, she and Bosch are likely on a quiet practice court, repeating patterns, refining movement, sharpening edges. No spectacle. Just work. Because at the highest level of this sport, chemistry outweighs celebrity. Trust outweighs trend. And when the next big headline tries to question her decision again, remember this: she does not need a superstar coach to validate her ascent. She is building something far more dangerous, a foundation that cannot be shaken by noise.